There is a truth that the Buddha discovered more than 2,000 years ago, a truth as relevant today as it was then. All human suffering originates in the mind, not from the external world, not from our circumstances, not from other people, but from our own thoughts, emotions, and reactions to those circumstances. When we are swept away by a stream of negative thinking, anxiety, anger, self-doubt, resentment, it is the mind that gives rise to and sustains that suffering. The Buddha called this ignorance, the inability to see things clearly, to understand the true nature of the mind and life. The mind, according to the Buddha, is not a fixed entity. It is more like a flowing river, always changing, always reflecting what we cling to and come into contact with. If we let our mind drift with delusion, it becomes a rudderless boat, crashing, wandering, full of fear and confusion. But if we know how to observe the mind, to look deeply into each emotion, each arising thought, then a small light of mindfulness begins to shine. From that light, awareness slowly awakens, and we begin to see clearly. Every negative thought is merely a passing cloud, not the essence of who we truly are. Why do negative thoughts feel so powerful? Because they are tightly tied to our attachments, to status, self-image, control, relationships, memories. When the self feels threatened, the mind reacts by building defenses in the form of negative thoughts. Doubt, judgment, blame. The Buddha taught that it is greed, hatred, and delusion, the three poisons of the mind, that generate these unwholesome thoughts. They pull the mind toward worry about the future, regret over the past, fear of the present, and in doing so, rob us of our innate peace. When we begin to understand that the nature of mind is empty, not fixed, we gain the power to transform. We are no longer victims of our thoughts, but become mindful observers, and from there, we become healers of our own suffering. Negative thoughts don't appear randomly. They are often shaped by old wounds, painful experiences, and false beliefs we've carried for years. Sometimes, a small criticism or a mild rejection can trigger a wave of negative thoughts, like a storm rising from the depths of the ocean. We tend not to realize when these thoughts are controlling us. We think we are thinking, but in reality, the thoughts are thinking us. They run like a machine, repetitive, habitual, unconscious. So, the first step in removing negative thinking is recognition. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Is this thought bringing suffering or peace? The Buddha never taught us to suppress negative thoughts. He taught us to see them, acknowledge them, not identify with them, and let them pass like clouds drifting across the sky. This is the art of mindfulness. No clinging, no resistance, only gentle observation. We often believe that our thoughts are who we are, but the Buddha said, whatever is not yours, let it go. Negative thoughts are not you. They are just temporary reactions of a mind influenced by the past and conditioned habits. If you look deeply, you will see they are not independent, not permanent, and not self. This is impermanence, one of the three marks of reality that the Buddha taught. Impermanence applies not only to the world around us, but also to our own thoughts and emotions. No matter how dark they may feel, they arise, stay, fade. They come and go, like passing breezes. Recognizing the impermanent nature of thoughts helps us loosen their grip. You don't have to fight them. You don't need to run away from them. You simply stay, breathe, observe, and smile like someone calmly watching the sky. A meditation teacher once said, negative thoughts are like visitors knocking on your door. You don't need to open. You don't need to chase them away. Just know they will leave. Negative thinking is like darkness in an unlit room. You don't need to fight the darkness or shout at it to go away. All you need is to light a single match and the darkness naturally disappears. In the Buddha's teaching, that light is called right view, the correct understanding of life's nature. When we see clearly that all phenomena, including negative thoughts, are impermanent, non-self, and unsatisfactory, we are no longer manipulated by them. Right view is not just a belief. It is an awakening, helping us see beneath the surface, into true reality. Right view leads the way, and mindfulness is the light that shines on each step. With mindfulness, we are no longer swept away by endless mental chatter. We return to the present moment where past suffering and future fear cannot survive. Mindfulness helps us recognize negative thoughts as they arise. Instead of being carried away, like a vigilant gatekeeper, mindfulness watches all who approach but lets no imposter slip through. It does not judge or condemn. It simply sees, knows, releases. One of the simplest yet most powerful practices is observing the breath. When you notice your mind becoming tense, anxious, or negative, pause and return to a deep breath. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. This simple sentence can pull you out from the pit of harmful thinking. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha teaches us to observe body, feelings, mind, mental objects. That means noticing what is happening in the body, how we feel, what thoughts arise, and how the mind reacts to those thoughts. This is the path of mindfulness that leads to liberation. When you see how a negative thought operates, you are no longer its victim. You become the awake observer, no longer swept away in the storm. From there, your mind becomes steady, calm, and gradually, negative thoughts lose their power. Here's a simple example. When someone wrongs you, your mind may generate thoughts like, "He doesn't respect me, I am being ignored, I have no value." But if you pause, breathe, and observe, you'll realize these thoughts are just ego reactions. You can choose not to follow them. And without your fuel, the anger fades away. That is the power of right view and mindfulness, not to destroy negative thinking, but to shine light on it until it can no longer find a place in your heart. One of the common misconceptions many people have when coming to Buddhism is this: if I meditate and live mindfully, I will avoid suffering. But the truth is, the Buddha did not teach us to avoid suffering, but rather to transform suffering into wisdom. Suffering is not the enemy. Suffering is a wake-up call. If we know how to look deeply, every painful emotion contains a valuable lesson. If we can stay with our pain without fleeing or resisting, then right there, the door to understanding opens. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught, the ordinary person complains and struggles when facing pain, but the wise one observes, reflects, and matures through suffering. Negative thoughts often arise from the rejection of pain. We don't want to accept that we feel weak, hurt, or disappointed. We push these emotions into the shadows and they return in the form of toxic thoughts. But if we dare to face them with compassion and understanding, we'll see. Beneath the anger lies sadness. Beneath envy lies insecurity. Beneath the wish to give up is a heart that has been silently wounded. At the deepest point of suffering is also where the seed of compassion can begin to grow. Thus, the fourth method to remove negative thinking is to practice loving kindness, metta bhavana. This is a meditation practice the Buddha emphasized in many teachings. Metta means unconditional love without judgment, without expecting anything in return. You can begin by sending loving energy to yourself. May I be well. May I be peaceful in body and mind. May I let go of all anger and sorrow. Repeat this silently, like a lullaby for your own heart. With regular practice, you'll see your negative thoughts gradually fade away. Not because you destroyed them, but because your heart has grown large enough to embrace them with love. Letting go is the next step after compassion. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means non-attachment, non-clinging, not identifying yourself with emotion. It's like holding a burning coal. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. When you let go, you stop being scorched by your negative thoughts and emotions. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught, there is no fire like lust, no chain like delusion, and the way out is to gradually let go of craving, anger, and ignorance with mindfulness. Remember, negative thinking cannot be chased away with force. It disappears when you shine the light of compassion, insight, and release. Negative thinking doesn't appear randomly. It often arises from psychological habits deeply rooted through repetition over time. Like a stream that flows in the same direction until it carves a deep path into the earth. Our mind forms grooves through thoughts repeated day after day. The Buddha called this latent tendencies or samskaras, unconscious patterns accumulated from past experiences, environments, and our habitual responses. If we're not mindful, we'll be swept away by old mental loops that feel impossible to escape. Therefore, the fifth method for removing negative thinking is to establish a daily mindfulness journey. Mindfulness isn't a philosophical idea. It's a living, breathing reality, the ability to fully notice each moment without judgment or attachment. When you eat, know that you are eating. When you walk, know that you are walking. When a negative thought arises, simply acknowledge, this is a negative thought, and don't identify yourself with it. That simple awareness begins to dissolve the power of the thought. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha clearly described the four foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, mindfulness of mental phenomena. Each foundation is a doorway back to yourself. When you return to your breath, you are no longer imprisoned by the past. When you recognize your emotion, you are no longer manipulated by it. The daily mindfulness journey doesn't require grand gestures. You only need to spend 10 quiet minutes each morning, listening to your breath. Each time a negative thought arises, gently say, I see you. Thank you for visiting. Now you may go. You don't need to force it away, simply recognize and relax. Inner nourishment doesn't come from control, but from love and authentic presence. Be gentle with yourself. Don't expect to be positive all the time. Don't blame yourself for feeling weak. Consider every moment you recognize a negative thought as a small victory on the path of awakening. You don't have to change everything in a day. You just need to choose to nourish what is wholesome, one step at a time. A lotus cannot bloom in dry sand. It needs water, it needs sunlight, and it needs time. So does your heart. Water it with mindfulness in the morning, in the evening, and every time you touch sorrow. Let mindfulness become your friend, not your duty. In the journey to remove negative thoughts, one of the greatest obstacles is the ego, the personal I, that we cling to and protect at all costs. The ego holds beliefs such as, I am right, others are wrong, I must be recognized, and no one understands me like I do. It is an invisible trap that causes endless comparison, anger, and loneliness. The Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent, false, and unreal. Among these, the ego is also a psychological formation that we can observe and let go of. When we cling to the ego, negative thoughts become more intense. We become more vulnerable, reactive, and suffer more deeply. But if we can see the ego objectively like clouds drifting across the sky, we realize it is not our true nature, but a transient, impermanent aspect. Practicing non-self, anatta, is an advanced Buddhist practice that frees us from a cycle of attachment and suffering. Non-self does not mean negativity or self-denial. It means recognizing the truth that we are not this body, not these thoughts, not these emotions. We are a continuous flow of consciousness, always changing and never fixed. Living with the awareness of non-self, we are no longer bound by negative thoughts, because there is no I for those thoughts to cling to. From this, an open, free, and peaceful heart arises. Try a simple meditation to experience non-self. Sit quietly, follow each breath in and out. Observe every thought and emotion that arises. But do not label or judge them. Just let them come and go like clouds passing by. Whenever a negative thought appears, silently remind yourself, this is not me. It is just a passing phenomenon. With persistent practice, you will gradually see that negative thoughts no longer hold power over you. Life is not always easy, but the Buddha showed us a way to walk through the darkness of the mind. It is the path of mindfulness, compassion, letting go, and non-self. When you truly absorb these teachings, you will no longer be a victim of negative thoughts. You will be the one who lights the lamp of wisdom, guiding yourself and others through challenges. Understanding the Buddha's teachings is only the first step. What matters more is how to apply those teachings in daily life, so that the soul can be deeply and sustainably healed. Removing negative thoughts is not easy. It requires patience, perseverance, and a positive attitude for oneself. The Buddha taught the Noble Eightfold Path, 8 principles that guide us rightly in life. Eliminating suffering and distress. Among these 8 paths, 3 are especially important for transforming negative thinking: right concentration, samadhi; right intention, samma sankappa; and right mindfulness, samma sati. Focus on these to gradually make your mind clearer, more mindful, and peaceful each day. Start by establishing a meditation routine, even if just a few minutes daily. Meditation helps you clearly recognize thoughts and emotions in the mind, while creating a quiet space for your mind to rest and recover. When your mind becomes steadier, you will more easily notice negative thoughts before they take hold. You can choose not to identify with them and gradually let them go. Additionally, the Buddha taught metta, loving kindness, unconditional love toward yourself and all beings. Begin by sending loving kindness to yourself. May I be peaceful, happy, and free from suffering. Then extend this love to family, friends, and even those you find difficult to be with. Loving kindness helps transform your view of the world and yourself, turning negative thoughts into compassion and tolerance. You might also write positive thoughts and affirmations of self-love in a journal. Read them daily to nourish your mind and strengthen positive energy within. Life will have difficult moments and emotional unrest, but if you consistently practice the Buddha's teachings each day, your soul will be fortified, strong, and always drawn toward the light. Remember, the path to removing negative thinking is not a straight line, but a journey with many steps forward and occasionally a step back. The Buddha teaches us to be patient, never give up, and forgive ourselves whenever we stumble. You are on this path, day by day, and every small step is a precious achievement on the journey back to inner peace. In the Buddha's teachings, illustrative stories play an important role in helping learners deeply understand and remember the lessons. A classic story tells of a meditation master who taught a young disciple how to handle negative thoughts in the mind. One day, the disciple complained to the master that his mind was always filled with negative thoughts, making him tired, stuck, and unable to focus on meditation. The master smiled and handed him a cup filled with dirty water. He said, "Take this cup and go around the village, asking if anyone wants to have it." The disciple walked around the village, and no one wanted the cup of dirty water. Then the master said, "Negative thoughts in the mind are like this cup of dirty water. If you hold on to them, your mind becomes polluted and clouded. But if you know how to let go, your mind will be pure and peaceful like clear water." This story reminds us that negative thoughts are not our true nature. They are merely temporary clouds that obscure the sky of the soul. To transform negative thoughts, you need to regularly practice the Buddha's teachings such as meditation, mindfulness, and loving kindness. An important advice is, when a negative thought arises, do not rush to push it away or fight against it. Observe it gently, like a visitor who comes without noise or disturbance. Take a deep breath and be aware of the emotions accompanying the thought. Then silently remind yourself, this is only a thought, not me, and it will pass. Nurture patience with yourself, as transformation does not happen instantly. Every day you are sowing seeds for a more peaceful soul, gradually removing the chains of negative psychology. By applying the Buddha's teachings in practical life, you will gradually expand your heart, increase clarity, and inner strength. This is the path that helps you overcome the darkness of negative thoughts. To live a gentle, peaceful, and loving life, to effectively and permanently eliminate negative thoughts, we first need to clearly identify their root causes according to the Buddhist teachings. Buddhism points out that negative thoughts originate from three fundamental mental poisons: greed, lobha; hatred, dosa; and delusion, moha. Greed is the endless craving, always wanting more, better, and more beautiful things. When greed is unsatisfied, the mind generates suffering and anxiety. Hatred is a natural reaction when we feel displeased, hurt, or treated unfairly. Hatred makes the mind angry, agitated, and easily controlled by negative emotions. Delusion is ignorance or mistaken understanding about the true nature of life and self. When we fail to see impermanence, suffering, and non-self, we become trapped in negative thoughts and false views. The Buddha calls these three poisons tam dark, the deepest sources of suffering and distress. Removing negative thoughts is the gradual process of transforming these three poisons through practicing wisdom, panna, liberating insight. This wisdom helps us see clearly the impermanent nature of all things, accept suffering as an inevitable part of life, and realize that there is no fixed self. Nothing exists independently and forever. When this wisdom develops, negative thoughts no longer have the power to dominate your mind. Another deep insight taught by the Buddha is about the five aggregates: khandhas, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness that compose a person. Accordingly, a person is not an unchanging entity but a composite of ever-changing factors. When we recognize this impermanence and flux, we no longer cling rigidly to negative thoughts or emotions. Finally, Buddhism reminds us to always maintain mindfulness moment by moment, to observe and recognize arising thoughts, so as not to be unconsciously caught in them, creating negative cycles. Deep understanding and practice of these teachings will help you overcome inner obstacles, gradually liberating yourself from the burden of negative and distressing thoughts. Meditation and mindfulness are two essential tools in the Buddha's teachings to help us effectively and sustainably eliminate negative thoughts. Meditation, dhyana, is focusing the mind on a specific object, calming the storms in the mind and creating profound tranquility. Mindfulness, sati, is the awareness of each moment of body, mind, and surroundings without judgment or reaction. One of the most popular meditation methods taught by the Buddha is insight meditation, vipassana, seeing clearly the impermanence and non-self nature of phenomena. To begin, find a quiet place, sit comfortably with a straight back, eyes either gently closed or slightly open, as you prefer. Pay attention to your breath, the natural flow of air going in and out. When negative thoughts arise, do not try to push them away but observe them with a neutral attitude. Recognize the thought like a cloud passing across the sky of your mind. Without clinging or reacting, feel the accompanying emotions, then let them gently fade away. This practice helps you avoid being pulled by negative thoughts, instead developing clarity and compassion toward yourself. Additionally, loving kindness meditation, metta bhavana, is a powerful method to soothe negative thoughts. By cultivating unconditional love, you gradually replace negative energies with peace and tolerance. You can start by repeating blessings to yourself. May I be safe, happy, and free from suffering. Then extend this blessing to your loved ones, friends, even those who challenge you. Over time, compassion grows, leading to a reduction of negative thoughts and feelings of hatred. Be persistent in daily meditation and mindfulness practice, even just a few minutes, to gradually recreate your mind and change how you face negative thoughts. Because, as the Buddha taught, inner transformation is the key to liberation from suffering and attainment of true peace. The Buddha's teachings are not only lofty philosophies within monasteries but also practical guidelines for daily life, especially when facing negative thoughts. One of the most important lessons is to maintain a non-discriminating mind and accept all circumstances as they are, without resentment or excessive expectations. When a negative thought arises, instead of letting it dominate your mind, try to see it as an objective event, like a passing cloud in the sky, not lasting, not clinging. For example, if you feel anger when someone hurts you, do not react hastily or blame. Observe that anger mindfully. Ask yourself why you feel angry, and if it helps you in any way. You will realize that most negative thoughts stem from our attachment to things that do not truly exist, such as expecting others to behave the way we want, or resisting change. Regular practice of mindfulness in daily activities like eating, walking, or talking helps you gradually remove negative thoughts before they grow. Another example, when you worry about the future, instead of letting that thought unsettle you, focus on the present moment. Do what you can now with a calm and grateful heart. The Buddha taught that the present is the only reality we can master. The past is gone, the future is not yet here, so holding on to negative thoughts about them wastes precious energy. Furthermore, the Buddha's teachings on compassion and forgiveness help us let go of hatred and suffering. Forgiveness is not only for others but also for oneself. To heal the deepest wounds of the heart, when you truly forgive, your mind becomes lighter. Negative thoughts like anger and jealousy gradually dissolve. Finally, always cultivate gratitude, a powerful spiritual state that transforms negative thoughts into positive, loving feelings. Take time daily to list things you are grateful for, no matter how small. Through this, you not only eliminate negative thoughts but also build a strong foundation for lasting happiness and peace. In Buddhist teachings, non-self, anatta, is one of the three characteristics of existence. Along with impermanence, anicca, and suffering, dukkha, non-self helps us understand that there is no fixed, permanent self to cling to. But everything is a temporary combination of physical and mental factors. This awareness is the first step to liberation from the cycle of negative thoughts. When we understand that thoughts and emotions are merely phenomena that come and go, not our true self, we are no longer controlled or bound by them. Many of us often identify ourselves through negative thoughts like, I am not good enough, I have failed, everyone is against me. But these are just passing streams of thought, not your true nature. The Buddha taught that when we label and identify these thoughts as ourselves, they become the source of suffering and distress. But if we practice seeing every thought as a passing cloud, without clinging or self-identification, the mind gradually becomes free. The key here is continuous mindfulness and the ability to let go, not holding on, not clinging. For example, when you feel anxious, instead of thinking, I am anxious, notice there is anxiety present. This small shift in perception creates space between you and negative thoughts, helping you avoid being trapped by them. Moreover, practicing mindfulness of the body, being aware of each breath and sensation, helps you realize that the body and mind are always changing, and no fixed self can be harmed or threatened. When you deeply understand non-self, you reduce ego, anger, and fear, and negative thoughts gradually lose their power over you. Non-self does not diminish your value, but rather opens a greater space of freedom and peace, where you can live serenely, free from bondage to negative thought streams. This journey is not easy and requires patience and consistent practice, but the reward is true liberation for your soul. In modern life with many pressures and challenges, many of us become harsh, judgmental, and frustrated with ourselves. This is the deep root of persistent negative thoughts that hurt our soul. The Buddha's teaching on compassion, karuna, is not only for others but most importantly for ourselves. Self-compassion is the ability to understand and forgive mistakes, limitations, and wounds we have experienced. When you develop compassion for yourself, you will no longer blame or be overwhelmed by anger and disappointment toward yourself. The Buddha taught that compassion is the path to heal and free the deepest wounds in the heart. Imagine embracing yourself with a loving, gentle, and patient gaze when negative thoughts arise. Instead of fighting or denying them, Take a moment to comfort and reassure yourself with gentle words. It's okay. Everything is all right. I am doing my best. Compassion does not mean indulgence or ignoring difficulties, but accepting reality with a loving attitude and encouraging yourself to move forward. It helps break the cycle of judgment and self-blame, two major causes of negative thoughts. Moreover, compassion nurtures patience and perseverance in the journey of self-transformation. Instead of feeling discouraged or giving up when negative thoughts return, you learn to accept and transform them gently and naturally. Practicing loving-kindness meditation, metta bhavana, is also an effective method to cultivate love and forgiveness toward yourself. By directing your mind to prayers and blessings for yourself and others, your soul becomes more peaceful and calm, gradually reducing negative thoughts like fear, doubt, or anger. Compassion is the light that illuminates the path to healing the soul, helping you overcome the storms of negative thoughts and find true peace. Mindfulness is one of the core methods in the Buddha's teachings to face and transform negative thoughts. Mindfulness helps us avoid being swept away by chaotic thoughts and prevents the mind from wandering in painful pasts or anxious futures. When practicing mindfulness, we learn to observe current thoughts and emotions objectively, without judgment. Instead of being trapped by negative thoughts, mindfulness creates a distance between the observer and these streams of thought. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a vast, clear sky, and thoughts are just passing clouds. Mindfulness helps us clearly recognize those clouds without being carried away by them. Keeping the sky of the mind clear. Meditation is a deep and systematic practice of mindfulness. Through meditation, we cultivate concentration, calmness, and full awareness of the present moment. Modern research has shown the benefits of meditation in reducing stress, anxiety, and negative thoughts. When meditating, you don't need to eliminate or suppress negative thoughts. Just observe and let them flow away. This helps you avoid emotional overreactions and prevents being caught in the cycle of fear or anger. Maintaining regular meditation practice builds a strong psychological foundation that naturally reduces negative thoughts. Mindfulness and meditation not only cleanse the mind but also help you develop wisdom and compassion, allowing you to see yourself and the world in a new, more positive and peaceful light. Start with simple meditation sessions, just a few minutes a day, gradually increasing time and depth. Each step of practice is a step on the path to liberation from the bondage of negative thoughts. The Buddha's teachings are not just theoretical or confined to sermons in temples but need to be practiced daily in real life. Eliminating negative thoughts is not a magic that happens instantly, but the result of persistent and continuous application of the right methods. The Buddha once said, "Mindfulness is the inseparable companion of the practitioner." Mindfulness in every action, word, and thought helps us maintain a state of alertness and peace. In daily life, when facing difficulties or rising negative emotions, remember to pause and observe. Instead of being swept away by anger, anxiety, or distress, take a deep breath and return to the present moment. You may ask yourself, what am I feeling? Is this mood truly necessary to hold on to? The Buddha also emphasized the importance of self-reflection, looking back at oneself honestly and compassionately. When you regularly practice self-reflection, you gradually realize the root causes of negative thoughts and thereby find appropriate ways to deal with them. Another important factor in daily life is observing the 5 precepts, the basic moral guidelines in Buddhism, which help us build a foundation of ethics and inner peace. Living rightly, avoiding harm to others and to oneself, helps reduce inner turmoil. Moreover, nurture gratitude in every moment. A grateful heart always finds joy and peace. Begin your day with a silent mantra or a short prayer, directing your mind toward peace and goodness for yourself and others. Persistence and determination to apply the Buddha's teachings in life will gradually help you break free from the whirlpools of negative thoughts. Life may not be perfect, but with mindfulness and compassion, you can find true peace and happiness. To better understand how the Buddha's teachings help eliminate negative thoughts, let us listen to some real-life stories. The first story is about a man named Thomas, living in a large European city. Thomas was under heavy work pressure, leading to negative thoughts such as self-blame, fear of failure, and prolonged insecurity. One day, Thomas came across the Buddha's teachings on mindfulness and meditation. At first, he was skeptical, but with persistent daily practice of mindfulness meditation for just a few minutes, Thomas gradually began to feel the change. He realized that negative thoughts were not his true nature, but merely passing mental phenomena. Over time, Thomas learned to observe these thoughts without reacting or resisting them. This helped him no longer be swept away by negative emotions. His mind became calmer, and he gradually regained confidence in life. The second story is about Elizabeth, a 60-year-old woman who had experienced many losses in life. She often sank into painful thoughts, regrets, and even resentment. When she began to study Buddhism, she learned that impermanence is the nature of all things and feelings. She practiced meditation on impermanence, realizing that even painful emotions pass like clouds in the sky. Through this practice, Elizabeth freed herself from the bonds of the past, and her soul became lighter and more peaceful. These stories show that the Buddha's teachings are not just theory but a practical path helping each person liberate themselves from the bondage of negative thoughts. When you open your heart to receive these teachings and practice persistently, you will also gradually experience miraculous changes within your soul. Now, let us delve into some simple and effective practical exercises based on the Buddha's teachings to help you begin transforming negative thoughts into a peaceful and positive state of mind. 1. Mindfulness meditation on the breath. This exercise is very basic but powerful in calming the mind and enhancing awareness of the present moment. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and gently focus your attention on the breath. Observe each inhalation and exhalation without trying to control or change it. When negative thoughts arise, do not resist or try to push them away. Gently acknowledge them and return to the breath. This helps us understand that thoughts are temporary phenomena, not our true self. 2. Contemplation on impermanence. Take time to reflect on the impermanent nature of all things and phenomena. All emotions, even negative ones, come and go like clouds passing through the sky. With deep understanding of this, we reduce attachment and fear toward unpleasant feelings. 3. Practice compassion and forgiveness. The Buddha taught that compassion is not only for others but also for oneself. When negative thoughts about yourself arise, try treating yourself with kindness and forgiveness. Speak gentle and understanding words to yourself, as you would to a dear friend. 4. Keep a mood journal. Each day, spend a few minutes writing down your thoughts and emotions. This helps you clearly identify recurring negative thought patterns. From there, you can consciously apply the Buddha's teachings to transform each thought. 5. Read and reflect on the Buddha's teachings daily. Set aside time to read a verse or a short Dharma passage focusing on the mind and peace. This strengthens faith and inspires persistence on the path of transformation. These exercises do not need to be perfect or take hours. As long as you maintain consistency and perseverance, small steps will bring profound change. Remember, you are your own best teacher when you learn to listen and properly apply the Buddha's teachings. In today's fast-paced and stressful life, maintaining a Buddhist practice can be challenging. However, persistence in building habits is the key for the Buddha's teachings to become your inner strength to overcome negative thoughts. Here are some suggestions to help you build and sustain an effective Buddhist practice habit that fits a busy lifestyle. 1. Start with small steps. There is no need to spend hours meditating or reading sutras daily. Start with 5 to 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation or reading a short Dharma passage each morning. Consistency, even for a short time, will create a solid foundation for inner transformation. 2. Remember the teachings in daily life. Try to remind yourself of a simple teaching of the Buddha every day. For example, nothing is permanent, or the mind is the master, the body is the servant. These phrases act like a compass, guiding you during moments of mental confusion. 3. Apply mindfulness in all activities. You don't need to sit still to practice meditation. Mindfulness can be practiced while walking, washing dishes, or even listening to someone speak. What matters is to keep full attention on the present moment, not letting your mind get swept away by negative thoughts. 4. Find a supportive community. Joining meditation or Buddhist groups, either in person or online, gives you motivation and a sense of not being alone on your practice journey. Communities are also places to share experiences and inspiration. 5. Forgive yourself when you stumble. You cannot always practice perfectly. When you find yourself caught in negative thoughts, do not blame yourself. Instead, use compassion to forgive yourself. As the Buddha taught, every day is a new opportunity to start again. Building a Buddhist practice habit in life is not easy, but it is a meaningful journey leading to inner freedom. Be patient and know that every small step is valuable on the path to healing the soul. Today, modern science increasingly confirms and clarifies many points in the Buddha's teachings, especially regarding the mind and emotions. This makes the ancient teachings not only a religious belief but also an empirically based method, easy to access and apply for everyone, including mature Europeans. 1. The mind is fertile ground. Modern neuroscience shows that the human mind is adaptable and flexible, called plasticity, the ability to change structure and function through experience. This aligns with the Buddha's teaching that the mind is not fixed, but can always be trained and transformed through meditation and mindfulness. As the Buddha said, mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief, they are all mind wrought. 2. Meditation and positive effects on the brain. Many studies demonstrate that meditation increases activity in brain regions related to focus and positive emotions, while decreasing activity in areas linked to anxiety and stress. These findings explain why practicing mindfulness meditation, as the Buddha taught, can help reduce negative thoughts and create inner peace. 3. Stress response and self-observation. When experiencing stress or negative thoughts, science shows the body reacts by activating the sympathetic nervous system, causing stress responses. However, the Buddha's teaching on observing thoughts non-judgmentally helps us not get caught in this reaction but learn to calm the mind. 4. Compassion in mental health. Research also shows that compassion and forgiveness not only improve social relationships but also enhance mental health, reducing depression and anxiety. This reflects the truth in the Buddha's emphasis on compassion as a healing path. 5. Practice and sustainable change. Science recognizes that regular practice like mindfulness meditation and reflection strengthens positive neural connections, leading to long-term changes in how we perceive the world and ourselves. This parallels the purification process in Buddhism, removing negative illusions. Thus, the Buddha's teachings are not only based on faith but are supported by modern scientific discoveries, creating a solid foundation for healing the mind and removing negative thoughts. Understanding this connection helps you feel more confident in applying the teachings in daily life. After a long journey exploring the Buddha's teachings and how to apply them to eliminate negative thoughts, you now hold precious tools to heal your soul. The most important thing to remember is that transformation does not happen in a day, nor is it a final destination. It is a continuous journey, a persistent practice filled with compassion for yourself, trust in your own ability to change. Even if negative thoughts arise, they're just clouds passing through the sky of your mind. You don't need to be controlled by them or lose yourself. As the Buddha taught, observe them objectively and allow them to dissolve on their own. Instead, plant the seeds of mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom every day, every moment. You can choose to nurture positive thoughts and wholesome emotions, because your mind is the soil, and what you plant will grow. Don't be afraid to start over when you find yourself lost. Every small step carries great meaning on the path of healing. Use the Buddha's teachings as a guiding light to return to inner peace and true freedom. Finally, I wish you health, happiness, and full faith on your journey of transforming negative thoughts into positive energy. Let your mind become a place of peace and joy, where you can fully live every moment of life.